I need to build my personal brand. You mastered it.
They have a theory called the 3 bucket theory. In the last 30 days, they've gained over 500,000 subs just from YouTube Shorts.
Who was the one guy that you sold to where it was that shift and it was like, this is starting to work now?
My business partner.
Really? If you were starting out fresh,
Yeah.
online business, what are the foundations that they need to understand straight away?
If you could ask yourself now, what are my key strengths and my key weaknesses as an individual?
That's some serious sauce. Things for me now, with my community, I need to build my personal brand.
Mm-hmm.
The main thing for me, I like doing podcast style content.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to talk to someone.
Yeah, that's right.
You have more of like a good interaction. When you like place yourself in front of a camera and you try and force something, people can feel that lack of authenticity through the screen. I don't want to do that. For me, I just want to have interactions with people, work with cool people, and then go from there, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
Because your vlog style content's really good.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it.
I could incorporate that into my personal brand, but the issue is, it's one, getting somebody to film you, two, actually be able to kind of talk off the cuff a little bit about your day-to-day life. Doing that vlog style content, it's not for everyone, but you mastered it. Like, I think you've got it down to a T.
Do you know what it is? It's like what you said, though. It's systemizing it so that you can distribute it effectively. Because the issue that I have now is that we're getting that much content all the time on the go. You then come to a point where you have all of this big bank, but then because we don't have enough editors continuously cutting things up and, you know, taking the long form, putting it in short form, it's just, it gets messy. So one thing I did learn though is I met up with a friend called Kai Towers over the last few days. He runs Mark Tilbury's personal brand.
Is that Strike It Big?
Strike It Big, yeah.
Yes, I know who it
they've
is.
stopped doing the podcast now, but I learned so much when I spent a few hours with Kai. And what he said is that they have a theory called the 3 bucket theory.
Right. Okay.
So within these 3 buckets, it's the same video type with the same intent for the audience they're trying to reach. And they'll literally plug and play these 3 buckets every single week. And Mark only posts 3 reels, 3 YouTube shorts and 3 TikToks per week.
Nice.
In the last, I think Kai said in the last, 30 days, they've gained over 500,000 subs just from YouTube shorts.
That's insane.
But one of the buckets was, you're a millionaire, why do you want to split the bill?
Yeah,
so it'll be, the whole bucket is controversial. The next bucket then might be something more entrepreneurial driven to almost double down that niche and put that audience more into middle of funnel. So it might then be how do you manage your finances as an entrepreneur? So it's like, you know, controversial nurture. And then because he's not yet monetizing from any of his content other than YouTube ad rev, he was mentioning now they're working on some really cool things behind the scenes on a bit of an offer.
Would you say then, like, for you, the main platforms that you focus on the most is Instagram, YouTube Shorts? Do you dive into TikTok at all or not really?
So we do TikTok, but the thing is where I'm going wrong with content at the moment, I've only been doing personal branding for like 2 months because we've always been big on commercial branding.
For sure.
Morley Trends and Resellers Room, I've always been the face of them companies, but nobody knew who I was.
Yeah.
It was just like this reseller guy. So we then kind of reevaluated and thought, let's put a bit of a budget and a bit more resource into streamlining my personal brand. So it was fully hands off for me for the first few months just to do a bit of an interest check and
kind of
almost gauge the
trial
audience.
And error a little bit.
Yeah, because we thought we've already got so much content that we know is going to work and perform extremely well that we can repurpose and guaranteed an accelerated bootstrap growth.
Yeah.
So what we then did is we then started building an editing team in South Africa with then a creative director who would then lead this editing team.
Yeah.
So now what I'll do is I'll have a Google Drive where I'll have each campaign name of the content that I record. So
have it all stocked up.
Yeah, have it all stocked up.
Yeah.
So say, for example, I don't know, Coach the Bell, right?
Yeah.
That will be one video and I'll put the long form. I'll get someone to put it into long form, into timestamps.
Right.
They'll then drop that in there. And then what we'll then do is then get the editors to then find the best moments from the long form clip.
And it's easier for them to edit it up as well.
Yeah.
But like, one question I've got for you is, you've got your own community, right?
Yeah.
Is your aim with that? Because obviously now, one thing that I'm doing with my creators is we want to create clippers because we realize that's the distribution.
Yeah.
And it's interesting as well because you see kind of the old fashioned way of doing things. You'll put your face on a billboard. That's old hat. That's out the window. Instead, you want that bigger reach.
Yeah.
But your aim isn't to get views and likes, right? Your aim is to kind of get the dream avatar that you want.
Yeah, because views doesn't equate to conversions. You need to have viewers with the right intent.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what's going wrong with me at the moment with my personal branding strategy. And this is what I learned from Kai. Right?
Yeah.
So I've only learned this in the last 48 hours, by the way.
Yeah.
And the whole principle is that, look, I could do a video and it could get 10 million views, right? However, I might only attract 0.1% of that audience into my offer. However, I could do another video that gets 100,000 views that has clear intent for the audience I'm trying to target, and I'll convert 10% of them into an offer. So it's, you know, you need to ensure that the content that you're producing has clear strategy and intent. And what I've done wrong is that we've always been so content over the past 2 to 3 months since launching my personal brand, because I've just thought of it, right, well, it's hands off. I'm dragging and dropping the long form into the relevant systems to then get the output I require.
Yeah.
But then now it's reevaluating what's gone well. And I'm now thinking, right, well, I did a barber podcast. I did a barber reel the other day, and that really performed extremely well. I think I got like 1,000 followers from that reel. And I had so many barbers following me. That is not my audience.
Yeah.
You know, like it's
very like, you have to be really careful when you do kind of go into that area of content, because it's like just that one little thing. What you were saying is perfect, but it's the actual, the location of it is
exactly
crazy,
like
bro.
if it was relevant to my industry
and
it popped, amazing. Like I did another one in the Nike reselling outlet store. I don't know if you saw that one. That got like a million.
I didn't see it, but yeah.
And that attracted the exact audience we needed. But I think to kind of summarize, we're gonna be moving more away now from just taking the short form from the long form, just because we want to snap and grab and throw something out there.
Yeah.
And we're going to be transitioning to dumb down the content a lot more with my personal brand. And I take a lot of inspiration from the Jet Business and Steve. And same again with Moses, the jeweler. They see amazing really success just from literally simply, you know, recording IRL based content, which is so raw on operationally what they do day to day.
I think that is it. Like, it's the raw side of the content. It's the authenticity. It's making sure that you're showing up, you're being unapologetically yourself, letting people into your world, being vulnerable. That's the way you grow your personal brand. And for me at the minute, I think where online business is going, where the market is shifting, is it is that raw piece of content that people want
100%.
Just to get to know you better, because you can give away value. And this is the thing a lot with my creators, even when we're making up a VSL, I say, just give insights away, because the problem, the mindset shift, when you're a consumer and you get given a piece of value, the first thought in your head is, now I can go and do it myself.
Yeah.
We don't want that, because actually what we want is just give them the insight, and it's a belief change in their mindset, and then they can move forward with it. And for me, pardon me, I jump on a lot of calls with men's self-improvement, people that want to learn how to date women. And you tend to find there's so many guys out there, they'll move through their life and they'll get to 25. They've never slept with a girl before. And I just said, I always say to them, I was like, why have you waited this long? Like, why didn't you just start when you were like 20? Like, you've waited all this period of time. And it's like, if you can get started now and just start showing up, you're going to make loads of improvements. One question I have for you, bro, is obviously we're in a similar kind of niche in a way, because we deal with high level creators. Who was the one guy that you sold to where it was that shift and it was like, this is starting to work now?
When you say sold to, are you referring to info or are you referring to product-based DTC?
Product-based.
My business partner.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay,
so
cool.
Let me explain how
Tell
I'm
me
my
the story,
business
bro.
partner. So I had a guy called George, right? He's obviously now an angel within my company. And he was spending thousands every single month. He'd come across our Instagram page, messaged us. He was like, yo, you know, can I buy this LV NBA t-shirt, this Tapestry t-shirt? And he was like, bring a care pack to my apartment. I pull up to the apartment. It's like a £1 million penthouse. The most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And you know that scene in Wolf of Wall Street where basically the guy with the curly hair goes up to Leonardo DiCaprio and says, bro, what the fuck do you do?
Yeah.
And Leonardo was like, I broke a stocks. And he goes, how much did you make last month? $77,000.
Yeah.
And then he turns around to the guy and he goes, right, well, ring your boss up now and tell him they'll quit. And I'll employ you right now. I felt like that was rehearsing in the circumstance I was in real life, because then what happened is he was like, come into my office, you know, like I want to show you around.
Yeah.
So I went into his office. He just bought this building for 13 million cash.
Nice.
So then I'm looking around, I'm asking about his companies, and their model is that they leverage law firms against claims.
Right.
So
okay.
to give you an example, say for if a customer took a PCP or a HB agreement out between 2013 to 2021, what a lot of the lenders were doing during this period is putting hidden commissions in the finance agreements. So
Right.
what they then did is they then leveraged the law against the banks to sue the banks.
Right. Okay.
And they would then get a claim back for the customer because of missold finance. And that's how they was making the money. And it was a lot of money. So to cut a long story short, I've been obviously still selling to him as a client. And I noticed that in his funnel, there was way too many objections to the final point of a CFA signature.
Right,
What
okay.
a CFA signature does is it then obliges the solicitors to act on the customer's behalf to basically look into the finance agreements and receive it from a DSAR.
Yeah.
And anyway, I was looking at the funnels and I was dissecting it. And because I had obviously been very aligned with funnels and the customer journey and click-through rates and conversions from lead opt-in to call bookings, I already knew from my experience from 2 years of building our info offer exactly where most businesses were going wrong, even in the law firm industry.
For sure.
So I said to him, I was like, let me sit down with you developers. I need to have a look at these funnels. So then we sat down and I was like, first of all, your title's wrong on the funnel. Nextly, your CTA and the incentive to want the customer to press through to the next page is completely wrong.
Yeah.
The placement here is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. And I started dissecting everything. Then later that day, I went for a meal in Dakota in Manchester in a hotel. And I went out with a few friends from Crep Chief Notify, really, really close friends of mine, really cool guys. And I ended up started sending wine. Like I was getting a bit pissed. And basically what George asked me to do before I went for this meal was like, oh, can you record like a Loom video and basically dissect this funnel?
Underrated.
Obviously,
Loom,
like I've obviously like knew that I had to do this and I wanted to get it done that same day. But I also had this other meeting. So I've then come in from this little send. I'm pretty drunk. And then I've got behind my laptop at like 12:30, like midnight. And then I've then started just cooking flames and like taking snapshots from his funnel, putting it onto a Figma, then adding notes to the Figma with the changes that amend.
Yeah.
And then I've dropped game on a Loom video and sent it into the dev group by like 2 a.m. But bearing in mind, I'm drunk. To cut a long story short, after they then made these changes, we increased the click-through rate on the funnel by 18.5%.
That's crazy.
Which when you're considering such a high ad spend every month, say if they're spending 100K
How much were they spending on ads?
100K a month, like insane spend. So that would have then accumulated another 18,000 worth of leads, right?
Yeah.
So the whole concept of it is that I never went with the intention of dissecting that funnel to then go into business with this guy later down the line, because 2 months after, he then offered me a seed fund where we then did our first round of funding. But that would have never came from anything if that initial conversation from me selling designer to him, to me then understanding his business model, to us now going into business together where we're able to achieve the things that we're doing.
And that's kind of part of, for me, I always teach people how to become an attractive character. All you've done in that situation is provide value.
100%.
That's all it is. Like, that's the first key to actually becoming the person you want to become, is being able to provide value, learning the information, consuming it, and then going out and putting it into practice.
Yeah.
And that's all you've done in that situation. But also, it's not just that as well. It's also actually a case of you decided, yes, I've downed this fucking bottle of wine, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to do the work anyway, which is that's proper like entrepreneurial stuff.
Yeah, and I saw something the other day. Rather than asking entrepreneurs to go for a coffee to pick their brains,
For sure.
don't do that and learn a high value skill, and instead provide that skill to the entrepreneur so that they can see what value you can provide to them.
100%.
And that will make an entrepreneur so much more willing to invest into your skill set, because of the entrepreneurs are very similar people. Everybody who's an entrepreneur wants to learn more and, extracts that value from high level people.
Yeah.
So I think, when I see messages myself saying, let's go for a coffee, I'm just like, don't come to me with that. Like,
for
because
sure.
I never got given that. So instead what I had to do is I had to learn. So go and learn a high value skill.
At the end of the day, I think people forget this, right? I always get DMs asking, how have you partnered with Eddie Hall? How have you partnered with Tom Aspinall? And I'm like, they are just people. Treat them like people. They're normal. Like, I think a huge misconception with entrepreneurs, people think we've got really regimented lifestyles, but that's just not the case. And I always say, like, use Conor McGregor as a perfect example. He starts his day at 3:00.
Yeah.
He doesn't start working until 3. And then that's the thing. Whatever your body clock is when you decide to do the work.
Yeah, 100%, man.
And I feel like for me, that's when I'm most productive.
Yeah.
And I think another thing as well, to actually level up and become that character, there is a gap in your life, right? So you do have to spend a little bit, you have to be kind of like autistic in the fact that you have to sit down, do the work, to then go and provide value to the world, to network, but also have the emotional intelligence and the whereabouts to, like, when problems do arise, that you're able to solve it, and you're not able, like, you don't look at the issue and then get overwhelmed by it. You just take it day by day, solve the problem day by day. Which is super interesting.
It's very true though.
For me, where I think online business is going now is consulting, community, personal brand, AI.
Yeah.
AI is really going to take over, and it's going to remove a lot of the back end work. I think if you're able to kind of bridge that gap and be the middleman, charge for the AI infrastructure, plug and play it into people's systems, that's how you're going to move forward. And I think we're actually transitioning into a time now where people do want to sit back, they want to relax. And the truth is, a lot of people think, oh, AI, we're all going to get really rich out of it. That's not the case. What AI actually is, the people who are going to leverage it the most are the intelligent people. When I use AI, I will give it a 45-minute prompt and say, everything about my life, poke 100 holes in my life that I'm missing out on. Like, what am I missing in my life that I need to improve on? That's how you leverage AI, not where's this restaurant? I see people do that and I'm like, that's not how you do it. For you in your business, how have you adapted to
Great
AI?
question. So I think firstly with, now this is quite sophisticated, so I'm going to make it as simple as possible to explain.
Dumb it down a little bit.
I guess how we leveraged AI in my company was we built something called an AI rationalizer. Now what that then does, we've got a huge internal control panel of data from, you know, items that have been in the market over the past 3 to 4 years. And data's always worth a lot of money to other companies.
Yeah.
So this AI rationalizer will detect one retailer's SKU against another retailer's SKU. And for us as an internal control panel, we can then determine what the cheapest cost price is subject to the supplier we're buying from. Right, so it almost assigns the data from the suppliers into one product SKU.
One product, yeah.
So the sales team then know what supplier to go to buy that product. So that's one feature. Another feature is we also then introduced a replacement AI imagery tool into our own backend CMS.
Nice.
What that then does is, say for example, we're syncing data from X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
For product imagery. What the AI will then do is you'll press a cog, it then scans the whole of Google images using Google Lens.
Yeah.
And it will then give us alternate imagery solutions to better optimize our product listing on Shopify. Another AI plugin we built was an AI rescription to then reform the descriptions of our Shopify product listings. So what that would then do is read anything that's ever been published on any news article subject to that product. And then it would rescript it with backlinks to then improve SEO score, because we know we can have more contextual information about that product.
Yeah, that's super cool. I like that. I think this is another thing as well with AI. What I try and teach now, especially from my perspective of being a coach as well, is yes, we want to remove the back end work. Nobody wants to do that. And for me, like, I think accountants, like, we can replace that, and people need to be aware of it, where times are heading. But also another thing as well, it's like the times we're heading into now, it's that we're really going to have a gap in divide of society of people that are going to leverage it, people that are not going to leverage it. And I kind of go back to like how we used to do it in old times. It's like a radio station. Yeah. Everyone would tune into like one radio station, right? And then it went to TV where, okay, we've got one channel. Let's have multiple channels. Yeah. Since the beginning of human time, since the Bible, they have restricted the information. And for everyone listening, that's exactly what they're going to be doing eventually with AI. Like, you don't download a social media platform or Canva or Loom without putting in your email, your phone number.
Yeah, 100%.
Because you're willing to get that exchange back of value. So even like stuff like really diving into like even conspiracy stuff, even like electric cars, if you don't think that they're going to turn them off, bro,
everything's always being read all the time. Like we do that in our own business, you know, like every single point of a customer journey with attribution from the point of when they enter a funnel, we track that whole journey as much as we can.
It's that nurturing sequence of that ecosystem.
To understand trends. And I mean, you can look at, you know, like most things with like social control. I mean, You can look at things such as this. Have you heard of the social credit system in Beijing?
I haven't, no.
So the social credit system in Beijing basically will rank citizens up to 1,000 of a score, subject to the places of interest, where they spend the money, if they withdraw cash. For example, if they withdraw cash, that will decrease their social credit score.
It's crazy, isn't
it? You know, like, I think as far as it goes with the theory of data and control, you know, like, we're probably going to go also into an era of digital passports. And every single time that you visit a country or you visit a place, you know, there'll be some sort of incentive with you using this digital ID card to make sure that every single step of every single sit-in is monitored in every single way. And I think that was also a big thing with CV19, you know, like, how if we illustrated this and, you know, we executed correctly, how many people would align with it? And not only that, was the biggest wealth transformation of history. You know,
there's always that, like, there's stages in society, right? And it's like a pendulum. Things always swing, but the actual root of the problem remains the same, and it never really changes. Like, right now, we're in a situation where there are people on the internet that are doing very immoral stuff, and I don't even want to say their names to give them any sort of credit. We, as a society, should look at that and realise, like, we shouldn't be giving these people attention. It's
I agree with that.
Because that's what's filling their pockets, is the attention, right?
I agree with that.
And for us talking about personal branding as well, I know so many people that make a lot of money online, and they'd pause that today if it meant that they could keep their personal brand. Your personal brand is everything, right?
100%, I agree with that.
And that's your kind of leverage mechanism. Now, I mean, you see people like Mark Zuckerberg, right? Why is he on that surfboard? Why is he filming that? There's a reason behind it, because he realizes he is the attention. That was the big shift in my business, where I realized I went from helping aesthetic companies to how I met my business partner, helping aesthetic companies build websites on Go High Level. I transitioned away from it because he turned around to me and goes, there's a real opportunity here. We just need attention. We can't get attention in 2 weeks. Pardon me, it's my phone. But what we can do is go after people who have attention.
100%.
And that's where the market is shifting, in my opinion.
I agree. I mean, I think the only thing that I'm seeing now with creators in the info game is that I feel like there's too many similarities between different info offers. Like, you know, SMMA being one of them. Your next is like e-com. Like, you know, I feel like if you really find a niche and become the best at that niche, especially when you start incorporating SaaS and become, you know, the go-to place to plug and play and start within that industry. And that's almost like the USP that we're trying to differentiate from any other one of our competitors. Our goal in the next 3 months with the SaaS that we're deploying at the moment is that you can come onto a website that's very similar to Nike ID, and you can have a personal shopping website pre-built with products synced into your website using our CMS tech stack.
And that's that plug and play thing, isn't it?
Just plug and play.
You get people results straight away. That's the beauty of AI as well. And the kind of mechanism that I'm leaning into more is more marketing-based conversion. So how can we create that ecosystem where we're nurturing people consistently inside a flywheel model whilst incorporating AI into your business? So not only do we plug the AI into your back-end systems, but all you've got to do is concentrate on the content and keep people in your ecosystem for as long as possible. That means posting short form to get people to watch your long form. That means posting that VSL, creating 3 VSLs to link it back to that VSL. And it's just that big ecosystem of not losing the lead. If it's a 3, 4, 5-star lead, how can we identify that as quickly as possible and then tailor the messaging towards them through the right appointment setters, training them in a way where they understand the language they need?
Well, this is another thing as well, speaking a little bit more on the info offer game. Every offer is very, very subjective to their own personalized stack, especially with what systems you build. So what I mean by that, for example, with us, like our process now is that when we get a partial lead who doesn't then book a call, that lead then exports into a Google Sheets automatically from GHL. And then we'll have like a triage process where the SDR will then pick that lead up, pre-qualify it so the closers only have qualified leads within their calendar. We don't want to waste time and let any Tom, Dick and Harry book a phone call with us to waste our closers' time.
And they're not pre-sold either that way?
No, they're not pre-sold. But again, it's also then looking at how you can also pre-qualify prior to them entering that triage process.
That's the sales mechanism.
Exactly. But then also alongside that, you've also got, right, well, if I've embedded a type form after my partial lead data capture, and then after they've finished the type form and they've then gone into the call booking, like what is my click-through rate from a clarity point of view from every step of the customer journey all the way to the point of the call booked?
Yeah.
And also alongside that, what information am I collating from a customer and what does the pre-qualification look like? Because we all know with the more questions that you ask, the more of a drop-off and a path of resistance you cause into the customer.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I think one thing that we're trying to kind of find a middle ground with is not overemphasize, like going ham on funnels all day, every day, because what it comes down to is output of short form and the quality of your short form, regardless of how good our funnel year is. If you're pumping way more short form out against a guy who's doing 5 new funnels a week and you've had the same funnel for a year, but you're getting 1,000 times more traffic than the other guy, you're always going to make more money. I think get the infrastructure right first and dissect and constantly test new processes. I mean, us transitioning from just dealing with inbound call bookings to then transitioning to that other processes increased our revenue by 30% in the last 30 days, and cash collected. Yeah. And I think one other thing as well is that, you want to make sure that you're scoping up a clear Gantt chart on new processes and systems with clear planning, because what we always used to do, it was a very impulsive decision making. We wouldn't have clarity on why we'd implement a process into the business, and we wouldn't also be able to split test the decision.
And you need to be able to track it, because if you don't track, that's not how you can't grow without tracking stuff, right? Some source for the audience watching. If you were starting out fresh, online business, what are the foundations that they need to understand straight away?
I think firstly, above all, just becoming like a colloquial person and becoming a friendly individual that people can relate to. So, I think for me, and this is just based on my experience, everything that I've learned when it comes to initiating business has come from sales-based roles. So I started a car washing around when I was, 12, 13. I then started a restaurant, like waiter and dishes and da-da-da. I then went into Debenhams as like another customer assistant. So I've always done like industry-based roles. Yeah. So what I'd say is like, first of all, before you even start the business, you need to actually do a personal audit check. 100%. So like, if you could ask yourself now, what are my key strengths and my key weaknesses as an individual, and then only write 10 down for either side, and rank number 1 being I'm the very best at this and this is my core strength above all of these traits. And then you look at your weaknesses and you do the same with them. Rank number 1 is this is what I'm the very worst at. Then ask 5 of your close friends if they agree with this personal audit and get them to also conduct the same, so you can get their perspectives. Yeah. Then what I do is I then think, right, well, if I've put, charismatic and enthusiast and sales and negotiation is my top 4, right? I'm going to then be thinking, before I even start this business, where am I right now with my life? Yeah. If I'm working in an accountancy role in a business and I'm bookkeeping for clients, that doesn't align with my key strengths and characteristics. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to now find a different job role just to learn that skill a little bit more, but I'm going to make sure that I'm paid well for that skill because I know I'm good at it. So I'm going to go and apply for a job at Mercedes-Benz and I'm going to be selling Maybach. So I'm going to go for a high corporate role.
And you're in and around people that are
exactly
to that level.
But you only want to have the ambition of doing this for a short period of time, because people think day jobs are a very bad thing. You actually learn a lot from high-level people. Most of the talent that we've brought into my company has come from other talent and candidates who've worked in extremely high, well-paid corporate roles, and then they've come into a micro company to really dissect our processes. But
100%.
Back to what I was saying is, I'd then transition into that skill you want to learn more of, and I'd also evaluate the friends that I'm around, because there's a good old saying in life that you are a reflection of the 3 people that you spend the most time around.
If you're going to be the 4th millionaire,
So if you're going to go into sales, don't be hanging around with fucking accountants and bankers. That's not the group of people you need to be around.
Sometimes you just need to get out of your small little town, go and meet some new people.
Yeah, and that can even just be one day a week, surrounding yourself in an environment where them people will be there. So I'd first of all look for that transformation in your career first, and that's going to give you a 3 to 6 month contingency window. Now you've got that 3 to 6 month contingency window. What you also want to start doing is you now want to make a list of your role models. And these role models, you can't be having the perception of becoming the next Lionel Messi just yet.
Yeah.
Like, don't aim to speak to Ronaldo. Aim to speak to somebody who's in a League Two team who's still pretty good, still earning a bit of money, but has that skill set. So, find people online who are in the space already, who are pretty low key, but they live a nice life.
For sure.
And what you want to do is just focus on building a simple rapport with these people. You don't want to go in and hard sell and ask for too much information, but just actually be transparent. Send them a voice note and say something polite like, yo, Harry, I'm not going to lie, bro. I really fuck with your Instagram.
Yeah.
Just to tell you about my certain situation right now, I want to be in your position in 3 months.
Yeah.
Help a brother out and give me 30 seconds of your time and just drop some game and tell me anything you can tell me.
It's the energy of the way you said it as well, though.
Yeah, it's the energy as well, yeah.
A bit I wanted to point out that you mentioned as well about making sure that, yes, go get the job at Mercedes-Benz. Yes, learn from the people that are kind of doing better than you. Almost using that, I always use a 33% rule where it's like, you should be learning from your mentors, coaching, and then learning underneath, right? It's as simple as that. What I find, though, is not making premature decisions, because part of the issue is I see people, they're like, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a doctor. They go to uni, 5 years goes by, and they're like, I'm now in a situation that I cannot get out of.
Yeah.
So you have to really have a balance where it's like,
I agree.
I want to go down this path. Could it be for me? I'm not too sure yet. But you need to have an out a little bit. Part of, for me, like with my football career as well, I wanted control over my life a little bit, because being a footballer, it's still kind of like a glorified 9 to 5. And
I agree with that.
You still have to turn up.
Yeah.
Right? You still have to wear your kit and train well. So for me, I was like, right, I'm going to spend 2 years just learning a new skill, see how it goes. And for me, it's gone pretty well.
Yeah.
And I've managed to leverage it. I'm still playing football, but at the same time, I've not made any premature decisions where I'm like, I'm just going to stop doing this. I'm just going to go get a 9 to 5 alongside my football. I was just like, let's just take time with it. And you'll come into points of your life where it's like, you can only move with so much speed. You can only do so much at a young age, in my opinion, because yes, you want to go out, grab the opportunity like by the scruff of the neck, but time's going to have to play out.
It is, but I think like the difference between somebody who's running, let's say, a 6-figure company compared to someone who's running a 7-figure company, you'll see the transformation of who they become as entrepreneurs, and everything is about speed.
It is.
There's
about
no time
speed.
to wait. And I always use the whole theory of a plane. The plane requires speed to take off of the ground, and then when it's in the air, it needs to retain that speed to not start dropping.
Yeah.
So I think one of the biggest kind of implementation factors, especially within our companies now, is if, let's say, we've been invoiced, I don't know, from a developer group contractor firm who say they can implement something, 3 to 4 weeks faster than we can with a new process in our business. We've always got to consider investment time return within that contingency window. So by us saving 4 weeks, but us spending another $5,000 over doing it, with our internal dev group, like how much can we make back in that 4 weeks from that system and that process being in place, whether that's saving time on labor, whether it's monetary purposes. The whole principle of what I'm trying to kind of get to here is that, like, the more time you delay and testing, the more time you're going to see the inevitable. So Alex Hormozy, a great example. He bought acquisition.com for $250,000, right? And somebody asked him, did you not negotiate with the broker to try and bring the fee down? He was like, why would I do that? And he was like, well, surely you want to save some money. He was like, the thing is, by the time we'd finished the legals and the negotiation, it would have been 2 to 3 more weeks.
Yeah, it's too long.
By the time I've paid the extra $50K I would have saved just from that 2 to 3 week window of me not having that URL, I would have then made that back 5-fold from going to market quicker. And there's an audiobook you'd really like. It's called The Lean Startup. And the whole principle of the book is that you want to go to market with the least minimal viable products so that you can rely on your customers to give you that quantitative data around what your specific offer is. Let me give you an example. Say you have a really good lead magnet idea around a new low ticket offer that you want to push your lower qualifying leads into, rather than just spending all that time into investing into building the program with the creator, what you want to do is split test maybe, 5 to 10 different creatives, maybe 5 statics, 5 reel-based ads, push a bit of organic to it as well. And almost do like a waitlist concept where the funnel exactly illustrates what the low ticket offer is, and look at what your opt-in state, look at what your premature market strategy is. And going back to the point you made about premature decisions, a lot of the time, all of these things that I'm speaking about now all come down to planning, investment, time, return, with looking at if an external dev group can deliver something quicker than us. Speed, go to market speed. Same again with the other point I mentioned there about testing against different creatives into the offer. All of this comes down to strategical planning, right?
I think another thing as well, just off that, is that most of winning is done before game day, right?
100%.
It's that preparation of putting in the effort, sweating it out, making sure that you're putting in the rounds. So when that day comes, you're ready, you're going to win.
Yeah.
That's a big part of business as well. It's like, yes, you need that time where you are building up, but when you do have to just execute, and it's not always going to make sense on the day, but if you don't just go for it, you're never going to progress.
And I think like for kind of like the going back to the original question of what are the core foundations you need as an entrepreneur. Life order, you've kind of got an idea around your career transition and what skill you need to learn at this point. Being around the right people, but also like having a plan. Like, so for you at the moment, even though you've not committed to do something because you've been living day by day, like actually think of things on a 5 to 10 year basis. Like if there was no limits and there was no ceiling in the room with what your ideas could go to and your goals, like what would that journey look like? So
one thing I would say as well, like when I coach people, the first thing I try and understand is, right, where do you want to be? Where do you want to get to in, let's say, 3 to 5 years is normally the time frame I use. Okay, so what are the daily habits that you need to create in order to get to that destination, right? But then what we do is we chuck that out the window and just keep your basic calendar there. So we don't incorporate goals into our mindset every single day. We just are becoming that person. That's the manifestation bit around it as well. It's like, if you keep on telling the universe, I want this, you're going to repel it.
100%.
100%. And I think money moves with self-love, right? The more self-love that you have, that's what you attract.
I agree with that.
And if you don't actually like yourself, you're the only person that's going to like you as much as you're going to like you.
100%. I agree.
And that's a reflection, right? That's how you attract people into your life. You have to like yourself first. You have to come into the world every single day and just like, yeah, this is going to be difficult today, but I'm going to roll up my socks. I'm going to do it anyway. That's a big part of being a man as well, to do stuff that you don't feel like doing every day.
No, that's true.
That's how you grow. And back to like with the energy of money and how it flows to you, money only goes to people that respect it. Simple as that. And it's like the be all and end all is like, money is not going to make you happy.
I agree with that.
It could improve your life and it's going to give you freedom 1000%. But at the end of the day, happiness really comes from what's internal to you, how you portray yourself and how you show up to the world. And like, we all have a moral compass, right? We all know what's right and what's wrong. The problem is now you see people, they walk around the world and it's like they're trying to bend the rules to kind of make them feel more comfortable.
Yeah, and I think I was having a similar conversation last night actually with this girl. So she does mergers and acquisitions.
Right,
She's a solicitor. So like she oversees like really, really big buyouts of companies. Really interesting conversation.
Yeah.
And we were speaking about like how money is a tool that for me personally, my purpose is to look after my mum and the people around me. You know what I mean? I get more gratification and more satisfaction from sending my mum to a spa with my nan than I would go into the spa myself. 100%. And I think in order to look after and care for the people that I love the most, that requires me to go through a level of stress tolerance and bring in enough money that is probably a lot more than the average person would need to do. So I think, look, we all can admit we like the upper realms in life. We like the nice cars, we like clothes, we like watches, we like staying in nice hotels. Nobody can argue against that. Once you experience that, it's a good old saying, once you fly first, you don't want to fly fucking economy ever again,
Yeah.
So it's like, don't get it twisted on that side. Like that's just the short-term rewards towards your growth and you experiencing these things. But I think when it comes down to it, you hit the nail on the head about the moral compass. Like we all live a life and we can't take anything to the grave with us. And I think you've just got to have the best impacts that you can personally on the people that you're around. And I'm a big believer in God will always 3, 4, 5-fold any one good deed that you implement in life. So
that's fantastic. I like that a lot. Are you spiritual?
Yeah, very.
Talk to me about that. What was your journey with God? Why did
So, do you know what? When I was younger, I didn't think about God.
Yeah.
Like I grew up in a town where, majority white, probably, like very small minority
what town was
of
it?
other ethnicities.
In Manchester?
No, Chesterfield, which is in between Nottingham and Sheffield.
Right, yeah.
So like in school, like it wasn't really like a Catholic school, there wasn't any preach too much about religion. I didn't actually really know any even Muslim brothers or sisters, like I knew no one. And then I then like started commuting more to Manchester and started actually meeting like a lot of other people who followed Islam, and then also, started networking with a few Christians. And they then said to me like, you'll start finding yourself that you'll start seeing that there's less coincidences in life when you start believing more in God.
When you realize how like things play out perfectly when you start to leave it up to somebody else.
100%.
It's so interesting, and it's like to actually receive, you have to put in the work in yourself.
100%.
And the universe wants to give you the reward.
God's punished me a lot of times.
Yeah.
Like I promise.
It's a lesson though, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's a lesson, and like I also now thank God for these lessons. Like and to I can't appreciate it enough, because I think that everything in life happens for a reason. And I know it sounds very cliche, but for me personally, when I started to develop that relationship with God, I just feel like I could explain the weaknesses and the things that was upsetting me in my own life.
Yeah.
Like, because there was things that I was insecure about. There was things that I didn't like about myself. There was things that I knew would challenge me continuously in the mental battle all the time. So it was like, nah, you know what? I'll look up and I'll be like, you know what? I need to, align myself with these emotions, and I need to accept and grieve them.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to blame everybody else and, look for external variables to run away from it. What I'd do as a kid is I'd smoke weed, or I'd go and send it for the night, or I'd go and do X, Y, and Z, and I'd be doing these instant gratification things to try and control these demons. Do you know what I mean? These things that were impacting me emotionally. So it was almost like accepting and sitting with your emotions and almost just accepting to God. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Leaving it into his hands.
And another living into his hands. And then another thing as well that did it is try magic mushrooms, bro. Like straight up.
I would confess. I have. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I'm looking into the moon in my mum's garden. Just smoked a spliff.
I love life,
and,
bro. Like.
Yeah. And then I'm like looking at the moon, and bro, I can see so much detail on the moon. And then I'm looking around in nature at the fire, and I'm looking at the colors coming from the fire. I'm not hallucinating, but I'm thinking, now, even though this is an illegal class A drug, class A, class B, I'm thinking, like, this is grown
Why
from
is
the
it
floor.
illegal though? Is
like,
it the control of information?
I don't know, but this is grown from the floor. Like, this is not, to cut a long story short, I then start looking around post that experience, and every single time I'm in nature, and I said this to Ryan the other day, I feel like, how do you explain anything other than God for the beautiful rivers that are in this world, the beautiful trees, the beautiful apples that come from the trees? How do you explain the pets that we have? How do you explain the dogs, the cats, the lions, the giraffes, and everything else? Bro, you can't.
There's so much beauty in the
world. There's no Big Bang Theory, bro. There's only one creator, brother. So I think the more, and I never used to think of this. I used to never ever think about any of this.
Do you know, I've got a really good story that I got told once by this guy. It was on a random night out in Knots. And he basically said to me, he goes, imagine me and you are on a boat. We're traveling towards an island. And on both islands, there's indigenous people. And you, Jack, turn around to me and say, right, Marty, I'm going to get off at this island. I think this is a safe island to get off at.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, I'm not really getting the vibe. I'm not too sure, right? I think I'm going to go to the island on the right. You get off and you get eaten by them indigenous people.
Yeah.
You're gone, right? I've gone to the other island and they go, Mai, welcome to the tribe. You're now one of us, because it's against their religion to eat me.
Yeah.
So religion also upholds standards in society. And I think now more than ever, we need God.
100%. I agree with that.
Without a doubt.
I agree with that, because I feel like we almost live in an era at the moment where it's very soulless because of social media.
I've got something that I think you'll love, right? Science gathers knowledge faster than society gathers wisdom. In other words, the average woman of today would rather choose beauty over brains, because the average man can see better than he can think. So with social media, all we're doing is living life of aesthetics all the time. She looks fit, I might go meet her. Is she a good person though?
Amen to that, brother. And do
Because
you know what's so funny as well?
pathetic.
Yeah, I'll tell you straight up. I was telling this again to Ryan the other day. My wife probably will be a 7 out of 10 aesthetically, and that's completely fine.
Yeah.
Because you know what she will have? She will have a great heart. She'll be a nurturing, feminine woman who puts, you know, her intentions first with me as an individual in every realm of life. So, like, don't get it twisted. Yeah, there are very, very beautiful girls in this world.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, in my opinion, it's quite hard to find a very beautiful girl who has the heart with her looks. And I think because I have such high standards with how my nan brought me up and my mum, like, I see the traits in my nan with how much of a nurturing person she is within another woman, as strange as that sounds.
sure,
Because
yeah.
when you're a baby, especially as a male, like, the first feminine figure that you aspire as a role model is your mother or your grandmother or your caregiver. So I think that often then reflects in the type of woman that you then attract.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time as well, where men go wrong, especially in the earlier years, as they're going through this learning phase, is that the things that the mother didn't provide, especially with maybe if the woman was not that present, for example, you know, you might then want to attract an avoidance style individual because that was what you was missing when you was younger, and it's repeating that from your childhood. Whereas a mother who's very, very caring and very, very nurturing, that often makes males who have that throughout their life then, you know, a little bit more avoidant themselves, because they've always had that care, nurture and love. And when a woman gives that them, it's almost like an overflow. It's like, I've had this all my life.
Yeah.
So it's crazy how much of an impact the way that you're brought up through nurture is then impacted on later life with the women that you then want to attract simply because of your childhood.
I think another thing for me as well, I've got a 25-year-old sister.
Yeah.
It's a blessing. Like, she's
Yeah, I
a
can
real
imagine,
blessing
man.
in my life, bro, because not just like teaching me stuff about like what to avoid, what to look out for, but also like making me more spiritual as well.
Fire.
I think that whole Mother Nature thing of them being more spiritual, and like, before I even go on a night out, if my sister gets a bad vibe and she goes, I've got a bad vibe about this, I don't do it.
Yeah.
And that's the intuition that they've got, which is amazing.
Bro, this is the thing. I've always been a big believer that if you take your woman to a mill where you meet 15 to 20 new people, you know, for the second time, right? It's quite a new friendship group. You've moved into a new town. You're not really too familiar with who these people are.
For sure.
Bring your woman with you to that mill, and she will know from her intuition who the real ones and who the fake people are and who are going to fuck you over.
It's facts.
And I don't know what it is about women, but they just have this energy to know who's right and who's wrong, and they call it way earlier.
Before.
And I'm talking, bro, like, this can be a year, 2 years earlier. I've had it before where I've been, you know, seeing a girl and she called something 3 years before something happened, and I wasn't even seeing this girl at that point. She was like,
crazy.
no, I have a good feeling about this. And then it happened, and I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
And it repeats itself. History repeats itself,
It
bro.
does, bro. It's that pendulum thing of history is always going to repeat itself. But the underlying thing of the whole thing for me is that you tend to find the best people end up winning.
100%. 100%.
Always.
It's the clean-hearted people who win in the end, brother.
I think
100%.
it's really interesting as well, because with Diego, I have to be able to talk to the men to get them into his community, right? And they're like, I'm too much of a nice guy. And I was like, that's not really the problem.
No, that's not the problem.
It's not the problem. It's the fact that you're not showing up as how a man should, right? She doesn't want to think about anything. She wants to dive into her femininity as much as possible. Let her do that. by you showing up and doing exactly what you were kind of made to do in
100%.
a way,
I agree with that.
She doesn't want to be thinking about what am I eating tonight. Just pick it for her.
Yeah, 100%.
Take the stress away. And it's like that saying of, I'm stressed, I work hard, but you're mine. You're the gift that I get from the hard work.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that.
We've entered a time now where the whole toxic masculinity thing, them labeling masculinity, but when problems arise, they need us, bro.
100%. And I think like a lot of girls get it pretty twisted as well, because say, for example, they live the 20s all the way to the mid-20s, late 20s, just out doing homegirl shit. Like, they're not going to attract the man that they wanted, and the traits that they acquired during this phase of being around different men continuously and not actually finding wholesome, like, internally within themselves. Like, you know, they'll go out every single weekend instead of just wanting to go and do something with someone in the family.
Yeah,
like, they're doing the same thing every weekend with the same people. It then comes to a point where, like, they've actually kind of lost that feminine trait, like, because they've never allowed themselves to feel content with that male figure actually just giving them guidance. And
do you think a big part of it as well is like them not having any mentors? Because I always look at it and I always think, is there any really good female role models that are really well respected?
Layla Hormozy?
Yeah, Layla Hormozy is a great shout.
Yeah. I'd say Michaela Peterson as well.
Yeah.
Jordan Peterson's daughter. Pretty good role model.
Pretty good role model. I would say for me as well, the one thing I would say is that having a mentor for me, it keeps me in check, because I'm learning stuff for somebody who's already lived the experiences. One of my best characteristics, and I've realised, and my dad even said this to me the other day, he was like, you're very good at listening and then going to take action on it, but not forgetting what you've actually learned.
100%.
That's my biggest flex, I would say, is that I take the advice and then I make the decision if I think it's valuable or not, and then move forward off the back of it. I think one of the main things that I've noticed, when people turn up and they're just unapologetically themselves, they go, this is what I think. Sometimes I like to go out on the weekend and have a fag and I just do whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah.
The old people, bro, who were successful, they turn around to you and goes, that was when I was most happiest.
Yeah.
When I was being a little bit selfish, where I was just going, right, fuck it, I might as well just do what I want to do anyway.
Yeah. And I think that's another thing, like, in today's kind of social scene, like, there's not many people who are actually true to themselves. Like, I actually don't have many friends, bro. I'll be honest. Like, I probably got like maybe...
Neither do I, bro.
like 5 like true friends.
I think I've got 3.
Probably 3 to 5. Like, one's in this room now, like, who's my little brother to me.
Yeah.
And then a few of the other guys. But I just personally am not prepared to open myself up to understanding that behind closed doors, you're not the same person. Like, because, and this was a big eye opener from living in different locations, from growing up in a countryside to then moving to a city, and the kind of different facade that people give you that perception of.
For sure.
And yeah, bro, I'm at an age now where I genuinely don't have time for bullshit, G. Like,
yeah, for sure.
I know what I need to achieve, and I'm kind of like, the people who are in my life, like, I've got them forever. Do you know what I mean? And I know that the loyalty is the most important thing as well. It's like, if I've let you in, like, you know, I don't want to just see this in a 6 to 12 month game. You know, we're in this forever together. You know what I mean?
I think another thing as well, who you are behind closed doors, it says a lot about you.
100%.
Like,
man.
what are your daily habits? Like, because they're going to predicate, like, where you end up anyway. So it's like, are you chucking that McDonald's cup out the window?
Well, bro, the thing is, right, and I genuinely was a bit of a rascal when I was younger. Like, but then what we spoke about earlier with God, imagine, let's say, for example, you're about to throw the cup out the window, or you're about to do something that's against your moral, ethical framework.
For sure.
Actually just think for a split second before you do it, and just think, like, what would I do if God was definitely watching right now, which he is, by the way.
If somebody was filming my life.
Yeah, or it's like, even with chewing gum, just spitting it on the floor, like, just think to yourself before you do it.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm being watched.
Yeah.
And it's like what Joe Rogan said once in one of his videos. He was like, imagine there's a camera crew following you every single day and look at your performance with how you perceive to the camera because you know you need to perform.
And act as the person, like the superhero in your movie.
For sure.
Without a doubt.
And you're gonna 5-10-fold your growth.
I think that's a great framework to look at life at. Is like, imagine somebody's filming you. Go through life knowing that you're being the best person you could possibly be, not just for your own self, but for other people around you that you love.
Yeah.
Right? No, it's super interesting.
And as well, another thing is that word of mouth goes a very, very long way. And that your credibility, and that can also be with like a good deed. And I actually learned this off Kai the other day when he was speaking about Iman, and he was saying that, you know, Iman flew them up business class return. He then, when the guys then got there to go and do the vlog with him, he then bought them all a remote case. And I was like, bro, that's so gangster of him. And he was like, bro, but this is the point. Imagine how many other people say how gangster that was of him.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, I might spend a little bit of time with some younger entrepreneurs and I might send them to the office. I might take them out for some food, you know, really spend that bit of time and giving them that direction that they needed. And I'm not gaining anything from it. I'm just like, you know what, when I was that age, I would have done anything for this and they'll have really appreciated this. And then it's like, they're going to then tell their friends when they met me, oh yeah, no, he sent an S-Class. We went out to Gauchos with him. We had a great time. We learned this and this and this. And then when somebody asks them, imagine it just fivefolds and fivefolds and fivefolds. So just remember, like, sometimes in life, you're not doing good deeds for the sake of having that reputation and for people to know that you've done it, but just understand that you could impact like multiple third parties along the way. And that learning as well can be passed on. So like what we're conversing about now, I've learned a few things on this video today about what I can incorporate in my life and things that I can take. So it's then, right, well, I remember that conversation I had with Marty, and I remember saying, like I did with Kai then, oh yeah, I had a conversation with someone about this once and he said this. Yeah. And then they can then pass that on and they can then pass that on. And it's, you know, it's a domino effect, you know.
I want to talk to you a bit about the education system and how we learn as men, because speaking of cool individuals who I've had talks with recently, his opinion was that the education system is designed for women and it doesn't tailor men's education learning style. Because for me, when I was at school, I'm heavily dyslexic. I always found that was my superpower, because when everyone would solve a problem, I'd look at that problem and it would take me longer for me to figure it out. But once I did figure it out, fuck me, did I make it better. Yeah. And it was so different that I stood out in that way. I use that in my business. I use that with my creative side all the time.
It's a power tool, bro.
But one thing I would say is, for the majority of people, if we're really generalizing the public, young men are boisterous. They want to go out. They want to explore. This is why I believe that girls do better at school. What's your thoughts on that?
I think that it all comes down to your learning style, firstly, because some people will learn through articulation, some people learn through visualization. And I think as well, it also comes down to nature nurture. Yeah. So some people genetically will have more intelligence with their IQ just because of their bloodline, you know, and evolution. That is an uncontrollable aspect of life.
Yeah, for sure.
Nurture, however, is if your parents really spent that time and given you extracurricular activities, you know, during primary school, and almost helped to adapt you to become the individual to be a little bit more academic, which can be done, by the way, and has been proven to be done. Then when you go into secondary school, because you've already had that head start, just like if you're in the gym for years, you know, that repetition then all accumulates to the compound effect. So I think the answer to the question is there's too many variables and it's too subjective to individual differences
for sure.
with nature nurture. I think if you was to look at also another thing is, you know, classical conditioning. So there was a study conducted by a guy called Pavlov, which all illustrated the importance of positive and negative reinforcement. Yeah. So again, coming back to that upbringing phase, when you're a child, like how are your teachers and parents actually reinforcing and giving you that positivity to know that you did something right? Because as a child, it's very confusing.
I used to reject a lot of it when I was at school.
Exactly. Yeah.
I used to get a reward and I was like, I actually said this on a podcast the other day. I, from a very young age, spotted the system for what it was. And I realized what path they were leading me down from a very young age. And it's weird to describe to people because I don't really know how I managed to do it.
Yeah.
I just saw what the education system was and I rebelled against it as much as possible. And I used to sit there and I was like, yes, I want to show up for things that I like. But if I don't need to be here, why am I wasting my time?
Yeah.
I think people waste a lot of time.
That's because, again, you've created now a prophecy with classical conditioning. That's created this label with negative reinforcement towards this theory.
My parents used to take me out of school, bro. Like, how I was very much brought up with going to school was when I was younger, from the age of 8, I'd go and do modelling. And then we started doing adverts. So I was on the Centre Parks advert. And as I kind of like grew and evolved and started hanging out with older people, I was like, I just want to be around older people because I'm just learning so much and just enjoying being in their company. How old are you now? 21.
Yeah, you are very, very academic and very, very,
it.
very intelligent for your age.
I was exposed to a lot of different scenarios, like with different people, and I also experienced a lot of rejection through my football as well.
Yeah,
which gave me like
superpowers again.
Superpowers, bro. Like. It just gives you that level of self-esteem where you just feel like you could throw anything at me right now. It's not going to matter. Yeah. I'm going to forget about it in 2 minutes.
Yeah. No, 100%. But it's a beauty at the same time because, you know, rejection's always a learning curve in every aspect of life. You know, you could ask your you could ask your manager for a pay rise, or, you know, you could go up to a girl and get that rejection. And, you know, like, the thing is, in my opinion, you've just actually not got to care. Yeah. Like, so I'm quite stoic now with my decision making, and I'm not afraid of rejection because I think persistency is the key to success.
100%.
So, for example, if I'm going into a meeting and I know the outcome I want from this meeting and I am rejected, which a lot of the time I'm not because I know how to orchestrate now. You know, like I'm going to take it with a pinch of salt on the small chance that there is rejection, and I'm not thinking about rejection because even the thought of rejection within itself is creating a self-fulfilling prophecy that I'm not going to get the outcome I desire.
I think that's fantastic the way you put that. I think consistency as well, showing up every day, it has so many rewards. And I actually heard Alex Amosi talk about this once, where they did a study and they got a classroom full of 20 people and they split the classroom down the middle. And both of them had assignments to make clay pots over a 6-month period in the semester. One group on the left got told, you've got to make one perfect clay pot. The other group on the right got told they had to make as many volume of clay pots as possible. And by the end of the 6 months, who had the better clay pot? The group that just kept on making them.
Yeah, it's true.
Because you just keep on making it over and over again. And the final product, it's really interesting as well. My dad's been a bit addicted to this guy called Guy Phoenix. He builds these big modern houses. And his method of actually making the perfect product is, right, we're going to build it, but we're also going to design it in a way that it can be ripped down if it's not the finished article and we can build it again. Fire. It's fire, bro. Yeah, it's fire. Fantastic because it's like, right, okay, cool. We've got this product. We like it, but yes, we now have the ability to tear it down again. This is the kind of nice thing about digital products as well, is that you can just keep on building and building and test and test.
100%.
And back to kind of the educational thing as well. One of the reasons why I love info products so much is that it's tailored to whatever the fuck you desire. If you want to make the decision that I'm really good at, let's pick a really weird niche, knitting. There's going to be other people out there that like knitting.
Yeah, 100%.
And you can monetize that.
100%.
This is the Simon Squibb thing as well. It's like, he's trying to lean you into being your authentic self and say, what do I like doing? It doesn't matter what it is or how small it is.
But everyone has a strength.
But everyone has a strength.
Everyone has a strength.
That homeless guy who's playing the harmonica.
Yeah, bro.
Who's brilliant at harmonica.
So sick.
I can't play harmonica.
No, same.
You've got it. I haven't.
Yeah.
Used that. Have you seen that video recently of that guy? He's puts the wire across these cars before the light turns red. He's timed it to perfection where he jumps up on the wire, starts juggling the swords, gets a hoop on his leg and starts spinning it. He goes, bro, this makes about 50 quid a day.
Fuck off.
50 quid an hour just by doing this amazing thing and then just collecting money from the cars. It's crazy.
It's a skill.
It's a skill.
It's just not online.
He's just gone, right, that's what I'm good at.
But that's a real life example of it. And I think the greatest part about it is that, you know, it's almost the modern day university transformation.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people perceive info products as, you know, like, oh, I'm buying a course, and, you know, but equally at the same time, what you'll notice is that there are always high performers who come out of these programs. And even if it's a small minority, there's a good old saying in life that you can take the horse to drink the water, but you can't force it to drink it.
Fantastic,
so it's like, all you need to do is really, really understand what you are being asked to do, spend the time on learning that skill. And what's the least that can happen? You don't succeed, great, that's fine, you know. But, you know, if you align this offer, which comes back to what we were speaking about earlier when I was speaking about learning sales, like, for example, if you find a creator who you really aspire, that, you know, your micro role models are following this person and they've also joined that program, you know, if they've joined that program and they've succeeded with that other creator and they're part of a remote sales team, fucking do the same.
Exactly.
Like, if they've done all, they've all done it, they're all part of that community, go and join, be a sponge and learn. And you have that aspirational or transitioning from Mercedes anyway. You're used to dealing with high ticket prospects. Now this time it's for a creator. You're not doing it in person for a Maybach. Do you know what I mean?
I think what's interesting about the education system as well now is that we're heading into a time where they're actually, the way to do education is the old way civilization used to do it before Rockefeller designed
100%.
the system to actually get workers to work for him. What's happening now is, even like when you see people, like, you need to consider this if you're listening to this and you're at uni or you're at high school, is that people defend it. It's the same thing with depression a little bit. We're spiritual beings. Like, when somebody says I'm depressed, it's like they defend the depression a little bit.
Yeah,
like,
I agree with that.
Their promotional team for it. It's just like, why?
Yeah.
Like, you have the decision in your life whether you want to be happy or not.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I think at the same time, like, some people might turn around to a friend and say, you know, I feel like I've got depression or I'm depressed. And I don't think sometimes people necessarily protect it, but they don't feel in a safe place to open up that vulnerability. So it's like, there's a double-edged sword. It's like, you can perceive it as that, but on the flip side, it's like, what if maybe someone's just had a really shit time? They've, you know, accumulated a lot of losses during this period, and, you know, like, they just feel too isolated within themselves to even speak about it.
I think it's really interesting.
You know what I'm trying to say?
100%, because I think another thing, there's two sides of the coin, right? I spoke about earlier how I had a lot of rejection growing up.
Yeah.
Right? That could have put me down a path that I completely
100%.
didn't want to go down.
Yeah.
Where is that flip in your life where you then make the decision, right, I'm not going to let that defeat me. I'm going to carry on.
I think the way you've got to see it is, imagine an ECG scan, right?
Right.
In life.
Is that like an airport?
No, it's like what doctors use to monitor hearts.
Right, okay.
The scan is always going to go up and down on the ECG scan, right?
Yeah.
And when it goes flat, you die. So the whole principle is you're always going to have rock bottoms and you're always going to have highs. You're going to have rock bottoms, you're going to have highs, and it's going to be a continuous roller coaster journey emotionally. And when you're at your rock bottom, you just have to remember, now is the only way is up. You know, when it rains, it pours. When things go bad, they go real bad, and it usually comes in threes. And I'm a big believer in that. So I think, how do you not fall into the whole of, you know, like, not coming out of a certain situation? I think it all comes down to accepting and grieving the situation that you're in. And sometimes people don't accept it. Like, I've been in situations before where I have felt very, very emotional because of a breakup, let's say. Like, you know, I'm a big lover boy. Like, I care a lot about the person I'm with. And when you're in them situations, there's nothing wrong with accepting that the next few months are going to be a little bit shit. So you could argue as well that, am I telling myself that I'm not coming out of a situation because I'm giving myself enough time to recover and heal from something? Yeah. So I think it's subject to the context, and not only that, like, sometimes in life you have to accept that it's going to be a little bit shit. Yeah. Like, and it's not good. And just because you're not falling for it as such and fighting against it, that will actually impact you more long term. Because you know what happens when you try and fight against sitting with your emotions? All you're doing is contributing all of them emotions subconsciously. Facts. And then later in life, you're going to then have trauma and post-traumatic stress just because you didn't spend the time on grieving the emotion. So it's better you just embrace it now.
Embrace it, yeah. One thing I would say as well, I personally don't think the human experience is there to be happy. I think what it is to experience them full range of emotions and being stoic enough, but also like accepting of them all.
I agree with that.
Just use them all as a lesson and just embrace it, like you said.
It's funny you say that, because I was saying last night, like, I don't believe that I'm necessarily going to be, and have a really happy life, because I know what aspirations I have and I know the sacrifice that'll be associated with hitting the goals I want to hit.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time that can have the price that must be paid with the stress tolerance that's probably going to come with these goals. So it's like, how do you find that middle ground between wanting and being perceived to have a happy life, but at the same time, like, not overworking yourself and not having that structure to actually, work to live rather than live to work.
Do you believe in burnout?
Yeah, I do believe in burnout. But I think, like, even times of during burnout, like, you still have to keep going,
moving forward.
But I say that, but sometimes I'm a little bit different. When I know when I'm fucked, because I start then, like, kind of emotionally, I'm not a nice person. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not nice to be around. Like, I start to get too bitey. I'm like retaliating to things, not like out of emotion to my decision making. It's just that I don't have the patience. So what I tend to do, I will just lock off for a few days, like, just take a break, like, and just, I'll still be on my WhatsApp, but I'm just resetting. You know what I mean?
I think some good source for entrepreneurs as well, one thing that I'm trying to go through as well, you do have to have periods of your life where you are in isolation a little bit, and they call it monk mode. Now, I'm quite against monk mode, to be fair. I can understand the concept of you do need to sit down at your laptop and just consume the information to then go and put it in practice.
Yeah.
But there's stages to it, right? And you can hit like a juncture in your life a little bit where you get to that learning phase. Then you need to go and execute. When you start to execute, you see results. But then after, there's the actual flip where you have to go, right, now it may be a good idea. Let's go get some new hobbies, because then you start making money in a different way.
Yeah, bro, I'm not going to lie. I think monk mode is a load of bullshit. I'll be real.
It is bullshit.
It's bullshit, G.
Because
let me give you an example.
Go
right, so the successful entrepreneurs that I personally know, right? They don't need to go in a fucking room and lock themselves in, because guess what? Their infrastructure, with how tall the hierarchies are, with the roles that they now have incorporated within their businesses, with high-level A players, has now managed to build the structure that they desire to achieve what they need to be. They're visionaries, bro. People who are sat in monk mode are not visionaries, because visionaries go out, network, meet and speak to people
100%.
who they can take learnings from. And not only that, the best entrepreneurs in the world, you won't ever see them dialed in behind a laptop, bro, like for hours on end, because they've employed people who are 10 times better than them at them deliverables. Great example now. Ryan, right? He's our COO in Resellers room, right? He manages a team of 7 in our sales team. Bro, I probably tap in with that sales team once every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I don't speak to them every day because I don't need to. Because Ryan's actually better at managing that sales team because of his learnings and becoming the best at sales within the business.
Yeah.
I'm a visionary. I know that side of the business and that infrastructure is now dealt with. So what am I now focused on? CXO and building customer onboarding teams and building tech deployment and how we can then enhance that to, increase LTV for our customers. But what am I doing? I'm then thinking, right, we need someone in a CXO role. So what does that mean? Can we find someone who's, worked on an info offer before and increased LTV by X amount since they was on that offer, and how can we then facilitate a department and a structure within that team, and what roles can we encourage within our project timeline that align with the tech that we're deploying for business development roles.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm at a stage in my career at the moment where I'm not in the nitty gritties, and I don't want to be in the nitty gritties, because every single time I'm caught too much up in the business, that then neglects me hiring new talent. And not only that, we're not going to be able to find the A players that we need for overall holistic growth.
100%.
Another great example, In the past 6 months, we've worked with 2 media buyers, 1 freelancer and 1 full-time in-house on a 50k salary. Same again, we brought another CTO in who was on another 75k salary, previously built the search engine Auto Trader. So we've worked with extreme talent and people who are putting a lot of structure in place within our business. So now when I hire, where I went wrong at the start, obviously we've got 10 people in-house and we work with 20 freelancers. So we're becoming quite a big team now.
Yeah.
But where I used to go wrong when I used to hire was I was trying to mentor C players.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Now, when in actual fact, the best way of doing it, and this is what I've done with this new media buying role who's starting on the 15th of May, I said to this girl, I was like, so what would your strategy be? Tell me what you would do. And I said, prior to the meeting, and us discussing this in a more formal interview, just do a bit of preparation. And if you could draw me up a go-to-market strategy deck on exactly what implementations you would put in place, I'd love to see this.
Yeah.
So she's come to the meeting and she's then presented to me the strategy on what I need to do with the business with her skill set. And before, when I was working with another C player, what I would have to do is I'd be sat in a conference room mapping up a full funnel.
You'd be laying it out for
and
them.
I would be illustrating exactly what strategy I think we should put in place. I'm not a qualified media buyer.
No.
But however, I know enough information to coordinate and understand from what she's presenting to me what would be the right decision. So I'm at a stage at the moment where I know a little bit of everything. I'm not the master of all. However, I can call bullshit. And I also know what would be the better decision with that person.
100%.
So
that's where the visionary thing comes in as well, about building that team.
Yeah.
Being able to identify.
I love building teams, bro.
Yeah.
I love building teams. And I think that's one of my strengths. I'm
team building,
very good at finding talent.
I think back to the monk mode thing as well, is that monk mode mentality is, I am going to be a lone wolf. I am going to do it by myself. And teams are always, the reason why these people that we look up to are so successful is because they've got a team, bro. The best teams in the world
it all
always
comes
win.
from people.
Yeah.
And that's why the thing is, it's like when people preach to me and say, oh, you've done so well, and I can see the growth over the last few months has been amazing. No, it's not me. It's the collective effort between the team that we've built, and it's the culture that we've now created. We aren't a family in my business. We're more of a Royal Navy. Because the thing is, when you're a family in a business, and this is what I did wrong at the start of my entrepreneurial career, is I was too emotional with my decision making and I let things slip too easily because I was working with very, very close friends. And I feel like you lose that level of respect when you have that relationship where it's, you're too close with the people that you work with, especially when you're trying to be a CEO and an authoritative figure who is
sometimes
dictating them decisions.
You do actually need to turn around to people and say, get this done.
100%.
100%. Like, I've had that where people are like, are you getting this done? And I'm like, I'm on it.
Yeah, 100%.
Because there's that level of respect there where you don't want to let each other down, but you're, like you said, you're the Royal Navy. You're going to attack. You're going to win as a team.
And it's like, you'd never put a tank engineer behind a Barrett 50 cal shooting a sniper. So it's like, let people really have freedom in the workplace. Let them really become the best at what they want to do. And I'm also a big believer that when you're building a small team in the first top 9, 10, the CEO of the company has to have a very, very close working relationship with that flat structure rather than tall. Every single person in the team is reporting back to the CEO. We're going through a transformation at the moment where we're now bringing in a C-suite where, we'll have a designated COO in Morley Trends
for sure,
with operational infrastructure with exactly what divisions that person's overseeing. Same again with the CMO, that person will be overseeing email marketing team. They'll be overseeing the paid media team. They'll be overseeing and working liaising with the COO to oversee tech operations and deployment. So it's like, I'm a big believer as well that during that first 10 that come into the business, you also got to have a very clear direction on what their aspirations are in the next 2 to 3 years. Because when you look at any company, employee turnover in any business on average is 1 year and 3 months.
Yeah.
So what you don't want to do is spend a year, spending all that time investing into somebody who is really, really talented. And what you've done during this period is, you've got them into a great position where they are in this position now.
Yeah.
However, in their mindset, nothing's transformed in 12 months with their goals as to where they want to be in the business. So it's also making sure you're constantly getting that feedback from them and understanding, tell me where you want to be in 3 years from now.
Yeah.
All right, well, you know, at the moment I'm in sales and I'm an SDR and I'm doing outbound dialing on the phone and I feel like I'd be a good closer. All right, sweet. So what roadmap can we put in place now during this next 3 months to ensure that we can pivot and transition you into this role? And let's draw this up. So it's also understanding like people also have their own aspirations. And there was a study once into intrapreneurs versus entrepreneurs. Intrapreneurs. So an entrepreneur is somebody who works within a company, but displays the characteristics and traits as an entrepreneur, but isn't prepared to take the risk.
Yeah.
And what this study showed was by a guy called Stephen, I can't remember his second name. And he was previously at Microsoft on the C-suite. And what he did is, you know, like Microsoft PowerPoints, Microsoft, you know, Excel, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
He was the one that pretty much then incorporated that theory, but putting it into the 9 dots within Google, if that makes sense. So, you know, when you go on the top menu at the top on the right-hand side, implementing like Google Sheets, Google Slides. But where that all stemmed from was by this guy called Steve. Every single Monday within Google would turn around to his team and say, we all need an hour now to come up with new innovation for the business. Spend an hour and completely stop everything you're doing and tell me exactly what we can do to further optimize or innovate this department.
I think that's interesting. It leads me on to a great point as well of great entrepreneurs are willing to start again.
100%.
I think when you look at people like Elon Musk, he actually, when he started, I think he had a domain like x.com. I'm not exactly too sure what it's called. He decided to take all the money he made from PayPal and put millions into Tesla, millions into SpaceX, and start from zero again.
Yeah, 100%.
So like to be a great artist or a great entrepreneur, to be able to start again and innovate again.
But the thing is,
it's a no-brainer.
It's because though, like, and you'll see this within your journey, the more and more that you learn from like high level people and the more time you spend around those who are in a position where you desire to be, you'll notice that you'll pick up things continuously all the time. So like for George, I picked up all of my leadership styles from him.
Yeah.
And understanding how we could build that momentum and that culture and understanding how we could get people to work that extra hour and deliver more when they're at work. So what you'll notice, especially with people like Elon, as you elevate in your entrepreneurial journey, you'll spot further and further innovation every single day. Yeah. So you'll be in a position where you'll think, you know what, this automation leads to this. Oh shit, wait a minute, let me dissect this a little further. If I do it this way, this will be the result. So that's the better theory. So it's a trial and testing phase continuously, but everything that you learn, whether it's in info, whether it's in B2C, e-com, because we've not even spoke about Morley. That's like, we've not even conversed about that. That's another baby within itself. But you will take learnings from everything. And no matter what you then go into, especially if you're around people in other industries, you can absorb that and you can provide that value, even if it's not relevant to your niche. Great example with what I spoke about with funnels and law firms. Even though I've never been in law and litigation, what I have done is I've spent time in understanding customer journey flows.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that then applies to a different industry completely, which then led to that opportunity. So I think it's, you know, people
being able to diversify a little bit as well. It's almost like even back to the personal brand thing as well. The reason why you want to be a key person of influence is to get them inbound opportunities.
100%.
That's what it is, isn't it? You want people to come to you.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. But at the same time, though, I'm a big believer that as well as them inbound opportunities, and I think that's a great leverage tool with a personal brand, like I'm also a big believer that people who've worked in commercial backgrounds with, you know, in my case study scenario, an ideal candidate that we'd hire, especially when it comes to a media buying role, would be someone who's been in control of Selfridges' PPC and media strategy for, you know, product D2C. And they've been responsible for delivering over $1 billion in sales during, let's say, a 24-month period. They've worked with a business who have a 1 million X budget on what we have. They've worked and understood the systems that have been incorporated into an MNC, and they've also understood the infrastructure for decision making. So at what point does the creative get passed to the media buyer? At what point, if a winning campaign is working, do they then repurpose? At what point, and how many variations of that winning creative do you then repurpose? And at what point does this equal this? So the whole point of what I'm trying to make here is that, you know, like, as long as you're aiming for, you know, really, really strong talent who've lived and breathed what your aspirational candidate would look like, that you've got to see them as an ROI.
Yeah.
Because you could spend 50k on a media buyer, right? But if they're delivering, you know, 10 million in a year in D2C sales and your operating margin after ad spend is 12%, I'm making another, 80 grand a year, 70 grand a year from putting this person in this role that I wasn't previously making. And yeah, you know, that's the way I see it.
It's super interesting. I think for me, right, big part of being an entrepreneur is you need to have that fuck it, let's just try it attitude.
Yeah.
Where do you think, or what point do you think in your life where you had that attitude, where you just went, let's just give it a go?
I was actually quite risk adverse when I was younger. Funny story, I wouldn't spend money like what my friends were at sixth form. They'd go out to Subway and they'd be buying 6-inch Subways for like £6. I would wait for them to get their receipts and I would basically redeem the free cookie because I didn't want to buy a Subway.
That's super interesting.
Like I would be the person to never spend cash because I was so like, you know, so driven on my goal of like going sixth form. Like, yeah, I was reselling on the side and I knew I was going to be starting an apprenticeship, but realistically, I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I think at the very start, I was very risk adverse. Then when I started making money, when like serious money, like when I was hitting 10K a month, probably around your age now, I was like, you know what, like I really want to come out this apprenticeship, but because it was a privately funded degree, I couldn't just quit without paying them back. And at the time, I didn't have the funds to pay to come out of the degree early. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to stick to doing this job full time, keep doing this on the side. And because I was then like accumulating a decent bit of money and having that safety net in the bank, I knew even if I took a radical decision, such as buying a wholesale deal for 10K and I had 30K in the bank, like I knew either way, I still had that 20K to live on for the next 12 months.
I think what's interesting about that story as well is that I think people would perform a lot better if there was a drastic moment in their life that went wrong.
Yeah.
Have you heard of the region beta paradox theory?
No.
So it's like, paradoxically, if you drive, or I'm going to butcher this quote, or you run and you get to the same point, like, I don't know, 10 minutes quick or whatever. It's like, if your house was rotting, if the wall started to fall down or your car started to break or, you know, your boss is such an arsehole, that's going to galvanize you into taking action. Whereas if your boss is about passable and there's only a little bit of mold in the corner, it's just about bearable. Like you can get stuck in that contemplativity where it's just like you're just there and it's like, actually you just need a bit of a kick in the face.
You need a scare as well, man. Like,
yeah, you do.
And I think kind of going back to what you were saying, after I'd let's say started taking a little bit more like higher playing risks, the higher the risks, the higher the reward, as cliche as it sounds. So then when I'm then seeing like a 10K deal come in and then I'm spinning it out the same week and I'm making another 5K, I'm thinking, right, well, now it's just a numbers game. When I speak about risk register, there's a good old saying in life that to make that first 100K, you have to lose 10K. To make the first million, you have to lose 100 to make the first X, Y, and Z anyway. But I think during all of these decisions that we've made wrongly, it's all a learning curve to then know not to make that same decision again. Now, one thing that we've probably wasted most budget on is resource with our infrastructure.
Yeah.
So then we stripped back our processes, and what did we do? We then went on a website called orgchart.com. And what this website does is it breaks down infrastructures within organizations. And an org chart is something that will dissect, you know, the whole positions of where their employees are in. So, you know, you'll have a CEO, a CMO, a COO, CFO, and then you'll have the teams and departments beneath it. So what we did is we printed off our 3 largest competitors from these org charts that they'd established in their businesses. And then what we then did is we built a Gantt chart that then aligned what roles we wanted to recruit for the next financial year. And what we then also did is we looked at the ROI subject to the role we're looking to hire with what would have the biggest, you know, impact on the business with revenue and sales, that would drive us to lead into that next growth sprint,
and
if
then
that makes
target
sense.
that as much as possible.
And what you do is, well, you map it up subject to what implementations you're putting in the business. For us, we've got strategical sprints now. So in the next 12 months, I can tell you exactly what month we have what sprint for what development area. So if we're deploying a piece of tech, let's say we're doing we've built a personal shopper CRM. You know, that's one sprint that we're in a testing phase of at the moment until June, right? And then we're building version 2 from June to August with further optimization. So we need to know, like with the biggest goals in the business, with these sprints, how do these roles that are being fulfilled impact these sprints, and we see monetary value in. What we'll do is we'll rank it out of 10 and we'll say, right, well, you know, if we know our short form output's not high enough and we're not getting enough organic lead flow, what do? We look to incorporate either a freelancer or somebody in-house full time who can then help us increase lead flow through short form output. Great implementation. Another one, like high urgency, is paid media buying. Like lead gen's also from paid a huge, you know, turnover factor that's going to be the difference from us making another 100 grand a month. And we need it in Morley Trends to really double down on our PPC strategy and our other multi-channels that we're going to be targeting. So it's then understanding, right, well, based on what these competitors have built with their organizations, they're doing $1 billion a year. So we know that they've seen success from bringing in these roles. And, you know, that's kind of now how we've made these mistakes over the last kind of 12 months, especially with our infrastructure, and we're now transforming to not repetitively keep making the same mistake.
Oh, bro, it's super cool. I love it. It's awesome, man. It's super cool as well, like when you start to learn these skill sets and then putting them into practice.
Bro, that's my favorite part.
It's the best part, isn't it? It's that growing phase is just amazing.
Yeah. So we're actually we did it last week for Trends. We drew out our next 12-month strategy with, you know, these roles, and we dissected every process in the business. So now all I'm doing day to day is just thinking, right, well, I know that this area with this sprint is going to require this resource.
Yeah.
What feedback am I getting from the team to ensure that we can facilitate further resource to ensure that we can execute that? Because it's not me executing. That's just me being honest. You know, and it's not my CEO's execution either. However, Karis, you know, she's so structured. She has all of the weaknesses as her strength. So we work very well together.
It's actually, I think when you actually build a team, one thing that I advise people to actually do is lay out all the possible weaknesses in the business. Yeah. And then if you can just fill each one,
100%.
and it doesn't all have to be A star, A star, A star. Yeah. It just needs to be A, or even B. Like as long as it's all there and it's functional and it works, and then you refine it day by day.
But the thing is, you're right, but as you're scaling as well, and you'll learn this, right? Another thing is, like, even with your recruitment process, like especially when you're growing a personal brand and people are going to want to start working with you more, you'll also then start to forget the people that you're speaking to sometimes. So it's then like also thinking, right, well, I've got these candidates here for this short form role from Instagram who are wanting to work for me. But yet at the same time, I've also spotted that the guy who used to work at the jet business and doing the creative direction for Steve, he's open on the market and looking for work as well. So it's like, what have I done now to almost structure that? We now have a CRM for recruitment. And we also have someone designated in recruitment that will streamline the application processes and pre-vet these candidates to make sure they're aligned with my SOP. So for example, I'll say, look, in a document, I'll be like, look, this is the creative edit style for this commercial business. These are 3 examples of it. What I want you to do is go into this drive and give me 3 templates subject to the examples that I've gave you above. Now, my recruiter will look at that and compare that against my standard of work of what I need. If they don't come close to that, he doesn't even need to tell me the name of what the candidate, who it is. I don't even read the CV, bro.
It's done.
However, if they pass test 1, right, this is where we then move on to phase 2. He then inputs their CV into our CRM, our candidate phase pipeline, and say, right, he's passed quality check 1. Now it's time for a formal interview, and we'll do that short and sweet, 15 minutes, very informal, just to understand the aspirations of this candidate. If this candidate's not obsessed and can't deliver strategy to me on the meeting when we're asking questions about, right, well, what do you think of this? They're out. No, I'm not wasting our time.
It's that same strategy with the pre-selling thing as well. I think before I even jump on a sales call with somebody, I get them to watch my VSL. I get them to watch a video so they can spend more. Have you heard of the Google 7-11-4 rule?
No. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I have actually. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like 7 hours you need to build up that. In person,
4 different touch points.
Yeah, it's interesting as well. Like even with celebrities, like when you watch a lot of that, they've just built up enough time with you, so you now feel like you trust them more. And that's all you need to do with your content, and that's why like building that ecosystem works.
It's so important.
So important, bro.
Yeah. So
I mean, the old way is like chuck a load of money into ads, go into my landing page, jump on a sales call, and maybe we close you.
Yeah.
And you just get people fall through your funnel, and 100%. It doesn't work.
So it's like, even with that recruitment process, like there has to be a system and a structure with everything that you build within your business.
Yeah.
So now for us, like, for example, with that specific role that we was just discussing, after that 15-minute informal interview stage, now it's time for the in-person interview, where we'll bring you to the office. We then will kind of ask the questions around, right, well, this is what you delivered with the templates, and this was what you managed to produce. Now, what's our vision? Now, when it comes to talent, the person that you're interviewing needs to clearly understand the goals and alignment with the vision of the company. Because if they're an A player and they're very, very talented, if they just understand what their day-to-day structure is going to look like with no long-term kind of strategy, then they're not going to stay retained in the company. And as well, if there's another person who's offering them a role in a different business for 5K more, like that could be the determining factor for you losing that potential candidate. Yeah, so it's also making sure that they're aligned with the vision.
You need to structure it in a way as well where you're treating your employees with a lot of respect, and they're gaining something from it as well. And 100%. They can see the long-term vision for their life as well.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to be able to manage that.
But it's always, you know, like, and this is another thing that I'm learning at the moment, right? And this is over the last few days I've gone through this, bro, right? A different role in the business. Someone wants 50K, right? My budget for this role is 40K. Yeah. However, how do I find a middle ground to ensure that this person, if I'm going to be paying them less and I compensate and I maybe meet them in near to the middle at 42, right? Yeah. How do I also then make sure we can put a bonus clause in place with OTEs to help them get to that 50K target that they had projected? So what did we do, right? Another media buying role. We then basically stated to this candidate, right, well, looking at our ROAS now, we know that we can operate on a 10 ROAS on Morley trends on our PPC strategy. So what we're going to do is build a bronze, silver and gold tiering system subject to the ROAS goal. 10 being bronze, 12 being silver, 14 ROAS being gold. Now, holistically, over the month, based on our multi-channel performance and attribution metrics, if you meet this ROAS score holistically across the business, excluding organic conversions, you will then get paid X bonus. And if we look at that over the course of the year on bronze with the ROAS target of 10, this is what your bonus will be. And we'll pay each month, right?
I like that.
Because then they're getting that gratification and working towards that OTE.
Towards it as well.
However, if you hit silver, you're getting more than what you expected. If you hit gold, you're getting 3 times what you expected. Yeah. Because what we did, right? Another gem, bro, I'm going to show you this on my phone after. What we actually did is we did a forecast over 12 months with our ad spend, historical data showing ROAS against our conversion values, also incorporating our net margin holistically across Morley trends with revenue to profit. And then what we then did is we put this in a forecast and said, right, if you hit 10 ROAS, these are the figures over the 12 months with ad spend target versus ROAS conversions, right? So we then broke these figures down in real numbers to show, right, spend this, we need this, spend this, we need this. This is what you'll earn if these targets are hit. Yeah. And then what we did is we put it as a bonus clause separate to the employment contract to the candidate and said, right, well, make your decision, you know, we're ready to go. And you know what? The role worked. It went through.
That's some serious sauce.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's finding the middle ground because people who are high level, and this is what I've learned when it comes to, you know, recruiting more, you know, high level individuals, is that they know their value and they also know the ROI of what they're going to bring to your business.
And you want them to know their value as well.
100%. And we don't, and that's the thing for us as well. We don't want to neglect their talent. So it's like, but at the same time, when you're building a small team, like you're working on tight budgets because you're not an Amazon yet. You're still a corner shop.
Exactly.
And whilst you're in the build phase, like every penny counts. So it's, you know, it's like, how do you find that middle ground? And if it's down to performance, if you are what you say you are, and we can see based on this short interview phase that you're going to deliver these results, prove it. If you're that confident, you'll take the offer because you know you're going to hit gold level. You're going to hit the gold level tier, and as well, guess what? You're going to get more than what you even wanted anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So prove to me that you can perform.
Yeah.
And if you don't perform, you hire fast, but you fire even faster.
Facts. You've got to hire, employer, whatever it is, accordingly to your life.
Exactly, brother.
And you've got to be ruthless about it as well.
Yeah, you got to take the emotion out of it, bro. But equally at the same time, we're here to build, we're here to grow, we're here to also work together to align where you want to be. So, you know, if you have the goal to also want to later down the line build a personal shopper social media marketing agency, and you potentially want to have a director role in that business with maybe minority equity, like, and that's a goal you want to work towards and you want to have your own business on the side, I wouldn't even mind funding that. I don't even mind going into that business with you and we can grow it together. So it's like, even with Karis, I know that Karis is really passionate about building her own like daily planning book, you know, building a personal brand so that she can then sell that. Very similar to how Daniel Dalen launched Lens, very similar to how Iman built.
My AI specialist actually just met him.
Yeah,
fire. He's working with him,
Dalen?
Yeah, Daniel Dallin.
Fire.
Yeah, he's a goat, bro.
Yeah, he's a really cool guy. He seems very down to earth as well.
Yeah, he's super cool. Yeah, my AI specialist, Ned, shout out to Ned.
Yeah.
Literally just met him in Bali last week. So
Fire.
We're teaming up. It's going to be super cool.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, it's going to be super cool. Hopefully I get a chance to meet him as well.
Yeah, no, he seemed, bro, do you know what it is? I've seen a few of his videos. I think the thing with Daniel Dalen is I like how authentic he is and raw, and I can tell that he's been brought up by
really
great parents.
Guys, isn't he?
You know, like, and he seems to have like really good people around him as well.
100%.
And I think that when you're growing, and you know, he's not caught up in the materialistic bullshit is what I'm trying to say. Like, he's just living his life, doing what he needs to do to conquer, and he's enjoying it along the way, and that's the most important thing. He's always smiling, he's always appreciating his audience, and I think sometimes, especially, and this is what I've noticed is Daniel Dalen's leadership style. The reason his engagement does so well and he retains his viewers on all the videos that he then posts. Every single video, what you'll notice him say is, and I've started doing this myself, copied it from him. He says multiple times throughout the video, I can't appreciate you guys watching this enough.
Yeah.
And he emphasizes to his audience all the time his appreciation.
But they're part of his community, his clan as well, because you are just going to attract the people that you're similar to a degree.
It's true, but
as long as you're being authentic.
How often do you actually see YouTube creators embracing their appreciation? They don't really do it too much, bro. And if you look at a team infrastructure, right, and you're growing a business, the entrepreneurs that are constantly celebrating success with their team are the best entrepreneurs, and their team will go out the way to do anything for them. So I'm thinking, right, if I'm doing that with my team and they're giving me the results that I'm getting, imagine that when I'm building a YouTube culture and I'm appreciating my viewers all the time, and I genuinely mean it as well. Like, you know, we want to inspire, and we want to make you clear that we're doing this to inspire you. I want to make my content driven towards the viewer to genuinely want to make a change. And even if I can just embrace some appreciation, I know that the community that we then build, even when we then go and host real life events, we'll do them free. We don't want to take money from our viewers, bro. We want to make sure that we can actually show that we care, you know?
I think that's where real gratification comes into your life as well. I mean, when you see these influencers walk down the road, and you've got lads coming up to them going, you genuinely saved my life. I mean, could you imagine how good that must feel? That's definitely something that I'm trying to chase, is like, not only just helping people, but them coming up to me going, do you know what? Just that one clip that I watched of you just shifted my perspective. Yeah. And I'm like it as well with people that I watch. It's like, I've got so many people to thank. When you watch their content, it's just like, oh, this is a gem that I came 100%,
across. Bro. And I think you
don't, what it is actually not, is actually giving without wanting anything back.
Yeah. And I think sometimes you have to have a very, very clear line between consumption and being the creator.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, consume the right things. You know, if you know that your reels and your algorithm on Instagram is not aligned with like what your actual aspirations are, then don't fall for it. And also another thing that I always say to people as well, if I see, you know, a lot of people scrolling who I'm close with, I'm like, all right, well, cool. You're enjoying your scrolling time, but tell me what the first reel was that you watched today.
Yeah. You don't remember
one sec.
It's impossible.
I can't remember. All right, tell me what the third one was. All right, tell me any of them. I can't remember any of them.
Yeah.
So if you can't remember that because of the short-term retention, just like hitting a fucking casino slot on a roulette, or, you know, like anything, it's the same dopamine that you're getting from things that don't really matter too much. So
I think diving into that pleasure too much is going to be one of the biggest detriments to the modern generation.
Yeah.
That Netflix show, that vape, that night out, whatever it may be, it's not going to give you long term.
It's creating substitutions though. So like if you know you're consuming, rather than like letting yourself do that, understand that you're consuming at the time and think, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to document how I feel right now. Pick your phone up the second you realize you're scrolling. Right, today's Tuesday, guys, and I've just been wasting my time scrolling. These are my aspirations and this is what I want to do. And talk to yourself in the camera. I'm not really a person to journal on paper. However, what I do is I will make videos all the time about how I feel, because then I can then actually get it out my my system, and I can then recognize what the flaws are and what I'm doing wrong in the moment. So, just make sure you recognize and really have that critical thinking about your actions all 100%. The time ongoing.
Yeah. But yeah. That critical thinking is really key as well, because it's like, if you have the ability to just check yourself every now and then, it's like that mirror method is like, before you wipe the mirror, change the reflection.
100%, man.
So good, bro, because it's like, before you actually start to level up, it's going to come from within to start
100%. And I think that's kind of another thing I'm learning at the moment, right? Obviously, I'm a little bit older than you, but the fact that you recognize this now, someone said to me the other day, they're like, build more structure in your life, spend more time on health and fitness, and spend more time into becoming a better person. Like, you can work all the hours in the world and you can try and level up within work, but the more that you spend time on becoming a better version of you, everything else will come into fruition. Yeah. So,
you have to be willing to receive love. You have to be willing to receive things, because this is another big problem as well. This heartbreak thing of, when you get heartbroken, it's like, the world's against me. People are against me. Nobody is against you.
No.
Nobody is actually, they don't care enough about you.
You've got to transform the heartbreth into
So who are you
energy,
Who are you competing against? You're not competing against anyone but yourself.
100%.
When you look back, when you're on your deathbed, you're going to be looking at that thinking, right, did I actually give it my all? Did I risk enough? That's all it's going to be.
And that's the thing. It's a shame, because I feel like nowadays there's that subconscious comparison because of what social media is come to. But just always remember, this is your life, this is your world, this is your journey. And deep down, nobody actually really cares that much.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I've learned a lot. It's like, yeah, cool, great. I'm posting this on social media, but realistically, I'm doing it for my personal brand in the market and the marketing, but equally at the same time, I just tell myself no one cares.
Yeah.
And I'm, it's just...
That's the beauty of your life, though, because what you're doing is you're following what makes most sense to you. You're living unapologetically to yourself.
Yeah.
You've made the conscious decision within yourself to go, I'm doing this because that's what I fucking want to do.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. This is Jack's world. Do you know what I mean?
It is your world, though. It is the world is yours. It's a fantastic quote.
Yeah, the world is yours, brother. Amen to that.
Question for you, bro. What does the next 3 to 4 years look like for you?
So first time I've spoke about this, but we've just incorporated an LLC in the US.
Nice.
So we're going to be tapping into US territory this summer.
Whereabouts?
Fort Lauderdale.
Okay, cool.
Which is the Florida state. So I'm going to be spending 4 weeks there, 2 weeks UK. And hopefully I won't be too jet lagged, but yeah, we want to build huge infrastructure in the US market just because of how big it is. And I think info right now is really at with US prospects. So I think tech partnerships and bridging supply chain solutions within the US market, scaling Morley trends with B2C. We do want to eventually sell. So working towards an exit strategy with that company.
Nice.
And spending a lot of time on fashion tech solutions, because I feel like the industry is really untapped with fashion tech. So next 3 to 4 years, just staying in my niche, not really, and again, I say this over the next 3 to 4 years, that's what I have planned. However, the thing that I've learned in life is that every single quarter changes. So it's like, I'm not solidified to saying exactly what's going to happen. I kind of know what I need to do, and God's plan. Things can pop up, things could change.
Anything can change.
In 2 years from now, I could be doing something completely different. But I just know right now, I'm not thinking about anything else.
Being able to adapt to different situations, it's a life skill everyone has to learn.
Yeah.
But bro, let's wrap it up there.
Yeah, brother. Thank you
Pleasure
so much for having me on, man.
Cheers, bro.
I really appreciate it.